They celebrated my charismatic brother, blind to the fact that I, the quiet coder sister, secretly owned the multi-million-dollar game studio where I just landed the CCO role. So, when he tried to torpedo my career, thinking I was out of my depth, he had no clue he was attacking the boss. Stick around for epic payback. Hit that subscribe button if you live for stories where the underestimated finally call the shots. I'm Annalise Moreau, the newly appointed Chief Creative Officer at Aura Interactive Studios, Montreal's dazzling star in game development and interactive tech. Unofficially, I own the place, lock, stock, and barrel. It's a multi-million-dollar secret I've guarded fiercely, especially from my own family, who remain blissfully clueless, still convinced Lucian, with his predictable marketing manager role at some traditional ad agency, is the real success story. Our paths couldn't have been more different. While I hustled my way through Waterloo on scholarships, fueled by cheap instant noodles and endless caffeine, juggling demanding computer science courses with late-night freelance coding gigs just to cover rent on my cramped 400-square-foot apartment, Lucian glided through McGill, his tuition, European summer trips, and trendy downtown condo all funded by Mom and Dad. "Lucian just needs our support, Anna," Mom would gently chide. "You've always been so fiercely independent." Independent meant overlooked, invisible. They still dismiss my career, ironically built on the quiet sale of 2 highly profitable indie game studios, a fortune they can't even begin to imagine, as merely playing sophisticated video games. "Why don't you ask Lucian for some solid advice on real business strategy, sweetheart?" Dad suggested last Christmas, utterly oblivious. Little do they know, the game I'm playing now involves owning the very company they think I'm barely qualified to work for, a truth secured in encrypted digital vaults, patiently waiting. They never saw me coming. My official appointment as Chief Creative Officer at Aura Interactive sent predictable, though subtle, shockwaves through the Moreau household during our obligatory Sunday brunch. Mom blinked rapidly, forcing a tight smile. "Well, isn't that ambitious, dear? Are you sure you're ready for such a significant leap?" Dad quickly chimed in, ever the pragmatist. "Just be careful not to get in over your head, Anna." Management is a different beast entirely from development. Lucian, of course, couldn't resist a smug little jab between bites of his perfectly cooked steak. "Must be nice to finally catch a break," he drawled, swirling his expensive Merlot like a seasoned connoisseur. "Though running creative teams? It's not exactly like debugging code in your basement apartment, is it? Hope you've developed thick skin for the corporate world." Their collective ignorance was almost comical. They discussed my new role as if I'd stumbled into it by sheer luck, utterly oblivious that they were talking about my company, the one I secretly controlled. I just smiled politely, a carefully constructed mask of humble gratitude. "I'll certainly keep that in mind," I murmured, the irony thicker than Montreal poutine gravy. But I saw that brief, sharp flicker in Lucien's eyes. My promotion, even the limited version they understood, had dangerously tilted the carefully maintained family hierarchy where he'd always reigned supreme as the golden child, the reliable one destined for conventional success. Suddenly, his little sister, the quiet coder geek, wasn't staying neatly in her assigned lane. The foundation of his perceived superiority had developed a noticeable hairline crack, and I knew, instinctively, he wouldn't simply let that stand. The unspoken rules had shifted. Lucian's unease didn't stay hidden for long. It began subtly, with him suddenly developing an intense interest in Aura Interactive's inner workings. He started showing up unannounced for casual lunches near the studio, strategically bumping into key project leads and senior developers in the lobby or the nearby cafe on Rue Sainte-Catherine. From my corner office window, overlooking the bustling street below, I watched him work the room, all easy charm and feigned brotherly concern. He'd ask pointed questions, veiled as innocent curiosity, about project timelines, team morale, and my transition into the CCO role, subtly probing for any hint of insecurity or weakness in my leadership. He needed ammunition. Then, the anonymous attacks began trickling in, carefully worded emails to HR and whispers reaching the board, questioning the originality of concepts from my previous indie studios, suggesting inflated user engagement metrics on my past successes, even insinuating I'd misrepresented my technical contributions. They were baseless, easily refuted with documentation I kept meticulously organized. But the pattern was undeniable. Someone was methodically trying to poison the well, to paint me as unqualified, perhaps even fraudulent. When I cautiously brought up the strange coincidences during another strained family dinner, Lucien put on his most earnest expression. "Anna, I'm just worried about you," he said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "You know how the tech world can be, especially for women moving up fast. Sometimes studios promote quickly to look good. Diversity quotas, you know. I'd just hate to see you stumble publicly after reaching such a high profile." The condescending implication hung heavy in the air. He wasn't worried. He was plotting. And I knew this was only the beginning. Lucian's probing and anonymous tips were merely the opening salvo. The real offensive landed yesterday, delivered via secure priority courier directly to each member of Aura Interactive's board of directors. A meticulously crafted poison pen masterpiece designed for maximum impact. Inside a sleek, professional-looking binder, embossed with a discreet, anonymous logo, was a polished dossier aimed at my professional annihilation. It contained skillfully forged email chains depicting me deliberately undermining key projects, altered financial projections suggesting brazen attempts to siphon studio funds into offshore personal accounts, and a completely fabricated timeline painting me as an industrial spy who'd stolen proprietary VR technology from a previous startup. Accusations spiraled from intellectual property theft and breach of fiduciary duty to outright embezzlement, a truly breathtaking masterclass in malicious character assassination. It was slick, detailed, and terrifyingly plausible to anyone lacking direct access to the actual securely stored records. Predictably, the board panicked. An emergency meeting was immediately scheduled for Friday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. Lucian, undoubtedly tipped off by one of his cultivated insiders, was practically incandescent with suppressed glee at dinner last night, barely able to contain his smirk. "Big shake-up expected at Aura tomorrow," he announced grandly, puffing out his chest. "Seems the board's finally addressing some significant leadership concerns. They've specifically requested I be present, you know, as concerned family, to perhaps offer some stabilizing perspective." Mom and Dad beamed, utterly oblivious, praising his supportiveness without a single question about why I, the CCO allegedly under fire, wasn't even mentioned for this pivotal meeting regarding my own career. They couldn't perceive the elaborate trap he'd meticulously laid, or the far larger, perfectly camouflaged one I was poised to spring. Honestly, I should be furious, consumed by a white-hot rage that my own brother would orchestrate such a vicious campaign to destroy my career. I should be heartbroken that my parents, blinded by their lifelong favoritism, were so eager to attend my professional execution. Yet, sitting here in my minimalist downtown Montreal condo, surrounded by printouts of Lucien's fabricated emails and laughable financial forgeries, the overwhelming feeling is one of surprising, almost serene clarity. His twisted little scheme, born from petty jealousy and a fragile ego, has inadvertently handed me the perfect stage, a spotlight I never sought, but now fully intend to utilize. It's a rare opportunity to confront not just his blatant betrayal, but the cumulative weight of years spent being the overlooked daughter, the underestimated sibling whose genuine achievements were consistently minimized or dismissed. Sometimes, the most potent advantage is letting your opponent believe they're winning, right up until the precise moment they realize they were never even playing the same game, let alone controlling the board. While Lucien was busy weaving his web of deceit, I spent last night meticulously compiling my own dossier. Every condescending remark captured in saved voicemails from his concerned check-ins, every suspiciously timed casual visit logged, every digital breadcrumb tracing back to his attempts to solicit negative information from my team, leads. It's all documented. And crucially, nestled securely within my encrypted drive are the finalized, indisputable acquisition documents for Aura Interactive Studios, clearly outlining the sole beneficial ownership held by the Moreau Innovations Fund, my fund. The emergency board meeting is set for 9 a.m. sharp. Lucien and my parents will arrive expecting a swift, brutal decapitation. Instead, they're about to receive a masterclass in why you never, ever bet against the quiet one coding in the corner, especially when she secretly owns the entire arcade. The pieces are set. The curtain is about to rise. I arrived at Aura Interactive's gleaming headquarters precisely at 9:03 a.m., allowing just enough time for the tension to properly marinate. As predicted, Lucien strode into the main lobby at 8:50 a.m., flanked by Mom and Dad, all dressed as if attending a coronation. His coronation, built on my anticipated demise. His suit was impeccable, his confidence practically vibrating off him. "Is the board ready for us?" he asked the receptionist with an air of assumed authority, humming slightly. From the internal skywalk connecting the development wings, I watched them being ushered into the main executive boardroom on the top floor, the one with the panoramic view of Mount Royal. The board members followed shortly after, their faces grim, expressions tight, exactly as I'd requested in my confidential memo sent late last night. Pushing back my chair in my nearby office, I took a deep, centering breath and walked down the plushly carpeted hall. Showtime. Jean-Pierre Dubois, our distinguished board chair, was mid-sentence as I pushed open the heavy glass door. "These allegations against Ms. Moreau are, frankly, deeply disturbing and require immediate—" "Sorry I'm late," I announced brightly, striding purposefully to the empty seat clearly designated for the CCO at the polished mahogany table. Lucien's head snapped up, his smugness instantly replaced by flickering confusion, then irritation. "Anna, this is a closed session. You weren't invited," he hissed, darting nervous glances at the directors. I folded my hands calmly on the cool tabletop. "Actually, Lucien, I invited myself. It's rather difficult, wouldn't you agree, to hold a legitimate board meeting concerning the company's future without its majority owner present?" The silence that followed was exquisitely, satisfyingly absolute. Pure, unadulterated shock echoed around the room. Lucien's jaw physically dropped. Mom blinked rapidly, clutching Dad's arm, who looked like he'd just swallowed sour milk. "Owner? What are you talking about?" Lucian sputtered, desperately clinging to his narrative. "Aura Interactive is owned by venture capital firms, shareholders. It's practically a public entity." His voice bordered on frantic. "Correction," I stated, my voice cutting through the stunned silence. I nodded briefly to Mark, my executive assistant, who stepped forward efficiently, distributing sleek digital tablets preloaded with documents to everyone seated. Aura Interactive was largely VC-backed, until approximately 4 months ago, when a controlling interest was quietly acquired by Moreau Innovations Fund. I let the name hang in the air, watching realization dawn with delicious slowness across the boardroom. Several directors' eyes widened as they scrolled through the acquisition papers, connecting the dots behind the mysterious private fund that had caused so much speculation. "This is impossible," Lucien stammered, his face paling. "You can't afford. You're just a developer." "Just a coder," I finished for him, allowing a small, cold smile. "Yes, Lucian, you've made your opinion of my capabilities quite clear. Repeatedly, in fact." I turned to Mark. "Could you please activate the audio-visual presentation?" He tapped his master tablet. Suddenly, Lucian's own voice filled the room, recordings from carefully logged calls, snippets from flagged internal messages he'd sent trying to dig up dirt. "Between us, is Anna really handling the pressure? Creative burnout is real." Another clip played. "Any whispers about her team maybe cutting corners on the latest engine build? Just trying to look out for her." The curated symphony of his manipulative whispers turned the room ice cold. "And then," I said, holding up the binder he'd sent, "there's this dossier. Attempted character assassination, fabricated financial misconduct, intentional sabotage of company leadership. Did you truly believe no one would verify any of this before taking action?" "I was trying to protect Aura Interactive," Lucien blurted, desperation cracking his voice. "You're not qualified. You've never deserved this level of success." "No, Lucien," I said quietly, my gaze unwavering. "I'm the one who deserves to expose you for attempted corporate espionage, for manipulating perceptions, and for endangering this company's future with calculated lies." Mom finally found her voice, a tearful plea. "Annalise, surely you wouldn't ruin your own brother's life." "Like he didn't just try to ruin mine," I countered sharply, turning to her. "Like you didn't come here today fully expecting, even hoping to witness it?" Dad raised a weak hand. "We were just supporting Lucian." "No," I cut in, my voice firm. "You were doing what you've always done, assuming he was the only one worth betting on." I turned back to the board chair. "Jean-Pierre, first, I want it officially recorded that the board has reviewed and dismissed all allegations against me as categorically false. Second, I request a formal letter, including the audio evidence and fabricated documents, be sent immediately to Lucien's employer, detailing his unethical conduct. This behavior warrants professional consequences." "You can't!" Lucian choked out. "You'll destroy my career." "The difference, Lucian," I stated coldly, "is that my actions are based on verifiable truth. Yours were built on malicious fiction. Lastly, I want it documented that Lucien Moreau and both our parents are permanently banned from all Aura Interactive properties. Any attempt to contact staff will result in immediate legal action." I then slid one final tablet across the table. "This details the sale of my first VR startup at age 26 for $45 million. My second a mobile gaming studio, sold for $160 million 2 years later. Their faces crumpled as the numbers shattered their lifelong narrative. Security will escort you out now. Lucian's carefully constructed career in advertising vaporized almost overnight. His prestigious firm showed zero tolerance for corporate espionage once they reviewed the evidence Aura's legal team forwarded. The ensuing months settled into a new, quieter rhythm. Mom and Dad left tearful, pleading voicemails that I archived without response. Lucienne sent handwritten letters filled with apologies. They joined the digital pile. Then, about 6 months later, my assistant buzzed my office intercom. "There's a Lucian Moreau here to see you. Says it's important. Personal." The man waiting wasn't the polished brother I knew. He looked diminished, thinner, older, stripped of the designer watch and sharp blazer, just a plain button-down shirt and worn jeans, holding a simple manila envelope. "I'm not staying long," he began quickly, placing the envelope on the edge of my desk. "This has everything: passwords, contacts, notes, anything I dug up trying to hurt you. I've also sent formal retractions and apologies everywhere. No excuses." He paused, meeting my gaze. "You were right, Anna. I resented you for building something real because I wasn't. I'm starting over now. Entry-level tech support. No family help, no shortcuts." He turned towards the door. "Lucian," I called out softly. He stopped, turning back, a flicker of desperate hope in his eyes. "Send me your resume. In a year," I clarified, my voice gentle but firm. "Not for management, not for anything senior, but if you're genuinely serious about earning things the right way, Aura is always looking for people truly willing to build from the ground up." He gave a single, sharp nod, a tear escaping before he quickly composed himself and left without another word. Today, Aura Interactive is exceeding all projections, a testament to quiet, focused work. My relationship with my family remains polite but distant. That old craving for their approval? Gone. Success isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself you were right all along. What's your story?